Shaucham, cleanliness. But cleanliness needs to be practiced in the surrounding. Surroundings should be kept clean. Otherwise, it's very difficult because bad smell or decay circumstances when you stay, you cannot breathe normally. After some time you maybe get used to it, but still negative reaction will be very high that you may get into sickness very easily. Although the surroundings needs to be kept clean. And from there, our home needs to be kept clean. Then our original home, which is our body, needs to be kept clean externally. And then internally also we need to keep our home clean, which is the mental cleanliness. What is mental cleanliness? Avoid conflicting circumstances, internal circumstances. Be aware of the conflicting circumstances. That's so important. Even if the surrounding everything is okay and your internal circumstances, situation is not okay, very decayed or beautiful or maybe a lot of conflicts, etc. Certainly you cannot enter into this state. So that needs to be. So cleanliness needs to be worked externally, in the home environment, physically and internally. Mental cleanliness is very important. Avoid or look and understand what is the conflicting aspects which is popping up in the mind constantly that takes away the cleanliness of our mind. Cleanliness here is unclarity. When you look something, if you are troubled, you will not see. So it is like a big dustbin where a lot of things are there that you cannot specifically see the actual problem. So that is why we have to weed out and come to the point, clean everything, and then find out these things. For that we need a basic plant. And that is the cleanliness that we need to work with it. Shaucham. Then santosham. Santosham is contentment. If you look into contentment, when I went to Sweden at the first time, people have everything. It was the second richest nation in the world at that time. So people have everything actually. You hardly see a better. Now there are a lot of migrants who don't have actually anything. Or maybe they take it as a business for survival. That's it. But it's very little. But during the time when I migrated there, actually there is no better. It's a rich nation. It's still a rich nation. And there, the tendency generally of the people at the time was, they are hardworking people. They are constantly working. If there is a Sunday and Saturday holiday, Saturday and Sunday holiday, they are not resting actually, they are really working. They are keeping their garden ready because they have only 2 days of rest. But that time they really work hard for making their environment very clean. And that gives some kind of satisfaction to them. So they do it. And also they work hard and earn money. I hardly see lazy people. Even old people are working. So the nation is really rich in that respect. Then every house, if suppose a person has a car in a family. Now, at the time when I migrated, if your car is a rare thing actually. A few families have cars. There everybody has cars, in all houses have cars. And I was also thinking, in every house there is not one car, there may be 3 cars. Now this is the story in India also. In Kerala especially, in Kerala every house has more than 2 vehicles. So husband has a car Wife has a car because they are both having two different times to go for working. So both of them have to have car. And children, grown-up children, they also need to have car for their freedom. So in the name of freedom, they haven't. So, and then the house should be a better house. This is a normal longing for humans. And so they make a bigger house. Then bigger house, cars, everything is there. Then they look for a boat, which is actually another requirement because there are more than 200 lakes there, everywhere lakes. So if you have a boat, then holidays will be wonderful. So they work really hard and they make it. They'll have a boat. It's a normal small boat. So then there is, that is not enough. And sailboat is a status symbol in the sailboats. And so they look for a sailboat and they make it. And for that, when I was looking, they are hard working day long and making everything. And that is so nice actually. They have everything. All families and everything. And seemingly happy. Then I have seen towards the end, maybe now, maybe 75, 80 years old, children are all moved far away. Like in Kerala now, nobody is at home. Children are far away. And husband and wife alone are staying at home. And so all this becomes a burden. A sailboat is a burden. Car is a burden every time for all these things. And then the house with all facilities and the tax goes up and up. And then there is, whenever they travel every year they travel, go to different countries and then collect as much great things as possible and bring home and paintings and sculptures and everything. Great life. Then there will come a time that they cannot stay there anymore because their facility, maybe independent house or in the villages. So they have to move to the city to an apartment. So when they have to move to the apartment in the city, there is a big problem because there is a lot of things here. This house has to be given. Children are not interested at all. They started the same thing, amassing things, and so they have everything. The old portrait of somebody is not anymore a fascinating thing for them. So all these things are hanging like ghosts in the house, but nobody is interested. Children are not. They are valuable things, but nobody is interested. So what to do? Some of the things they wanted to weed out. So in summertime, just before the summer starts, people weed out everything. Like beautiful sofas, like musical instruments and computers. You can go at the street and pick up things. Yes, it is. I was really fascinated what is going on here. They dump it in particular yards where people can go there and keep it there and anybody can take it. In designed areas. Anybody can go and take it, but nobody goes and take it because everybody has the same thing. So it remains there, but the rest of the things they have to empty. So it becomes such a burden, and we have experienced this when English parents had to move. The house was full of a lifetime collections. It was very hard actually to do something about this house and the things. No children were interested. Maybe somebody comes and takes a small this is good. They go. A small thing, maybe a small sculpture or something, as a token of as a memory of their parents. All the rest of the things are there. But I have seen one thing which is very special, that they are contented. What we have done is we have taken the essential things which makes an appearance of their old house when they move to that apartment. The thing, as soon as they enter into their house, something which you have, that must take place there. And very few things which is essentially needed and giving the appearance of the old house where they stayed were only taken there and kept it there. They were happy actually. It's very surprising for me. And no disappointment in leaving things. For centuries they have been tuned in this way. And when they were amassing things, and this question was there for me, but that is not hurting them at all. They were ready to live. They make, they live, and they leave. It's fantastic, actually. Amazing mindset. And for us, actually, if it's the last days of marriage, what we do with this sentimental attachment. And this question was not at all there. Contented people, actually, generally. And I have seen almost the same thing in the Bombay slum. That's amazing, actually. In the slum in Bombay, I spent 2 days there in that area. And it was very interesting. They sent their children, during those years, they sent their children to the street. And they go there, and then, transport car, everything was going, and they take something. And as soon as they get it, they are joyful, and they run and laugh and run. And they are great artists. Great artists. I will say it's out of the way talk, but it's a very nice, beautiful story. There was an Italian journalist who was a friend of me, and he was a student of me. So he and his wife, they were both journalists. They were visiting Bombay. I have given some tours for them also about India. And they came to Bombay and they were moving in the slums. And I have seen some small children, like great artists. He has made a book also after this. They are great artists of India. Because they come and they really express their sorrowful life, and crying and tears, everything. And then, as soon as they get something, they were running. And then he felt like giving a great day for these children, 2, 3 children. So he collected beautiful dress. They were very shabby, dirty, dressed, young children. So, and he made a small girl as a princess for a day. It's a very touching story, actually. And then he took the 2 children and made one as the princess. Gave everything, food and everything, lot of toys, everything, and gave a boat trip. And took in the boat. And he pretended himself as the servant of this girl. She became a lord, like a king. And went around and around, great dress and glittering dress, everything was great. And she was so happy, went into the sea, and the whole day spent time in the sea and then came back. And when she was about to leave the boat, heartbreaking, then she realized now her prince is gone. Now she is going back to the sun. And that was such a heartbreaking thing for him, and he repented for what he has done. Because now she may not be able to survive because of darkness, experience, and getting back into her feathery life. And he was very sad about what he has done. But generally, when you are there at the time, that street side dwellers, and they do all kinds of play like this, and some little thieving and things like that, they do that. And then they make their food in the street. Small drains will be there that they urinate and things like that, all in public. They leave there, but at the night after finishing all these things, they make food and then they celebrate. There is dancing, singing, big celebration, which is unimaginable. And so I have seen the contentment there. And I have seen the discontent the Western world has, even the city dwellers has. We continuously trying to amass new things, but never fully satisfied. Satisfaction is very temporary, and then the new things we come across, and then we try for that and that. Never a long-lasting contentment is there usually in human. So this is what Patanjali was thinking, and he said, if you want to enter into the state of yoga, certainly one of the prerequisites for that is develop a mind with contentment. That means, Kurosami used to say this, if you have only rice soup today, be content. Tomorrow you will have something else. But don't brood over what you have. And then don't be sad about what you have. At least you have this. And this is a mindset, it cannot be based on what you have. It's a mindset which people can develop by being contented with what you have. And that kind of a mindset is very essential because the world is uncertain. Now we are seeing now more uncertainty is there. Anytime anything can happen, somebody can create war in no time. Now we are seeing people who have settled life in places they are just becoming street dwellers in no time. Children are begging, running, killed. So at least so far we are living, we are existing here. It's so important for us to make a mindset whereby we can be little contented by practicing contentment. And that cannot be, the contentment cannot be given by having pleasures of life. It's a quality of life which needs to be generated by awareness. And this is for everybody. Otherwise, when circumstances changes, we will not be able to handle. We may get, we may not get. But keeping a little economous state is very essential for keeping the peace, deeper peace inside, so that you can go on introspecting yourself, go on understanding what the mind is doing. Otherwise, we will not be able to go deep into ourselves and master it. And so he says contentment is very good. And then comes tapas. Tapas means heating up. Heating up. Tapas means heat. Tapas means heating, cooking. So, and I'll put down in one sentence, because whenever we get into some kind of conflict, immediately the heat in the body changes. We start to feel there is vibration, shiver, there is uneasiness, there is increase of heat, anxiety, fear, anger, all these things change the heat system in everybody. And so this needs to be kept in a balanced state. So when something is happening, we need to immediately look. Then we understand that the heat is changing due to conflict. If there is no conflict, the heat will be steady. So conflict is the cause of the variation of our heat system. And conflict basically is based on concepts, beliefs and ideas. You have a concept which is given by the society, or an idea or a belief, which is actually trained by the society, which is good for many reasons. But when we are sticking on to that so much that if you cannot do something which is conflicting with something, you have two options. One, you have to leave it. The other, struggle and get it. The yogic system says you have to sacrifice the aspects of conflict in the holy fire of conflict itself. Then as soon as an idea is coming, for example, you want something which you cannot have. You know it is there. You are really going to take it because you have an incredible need for it. So immediately your body is changing. You are slowly getting into that. Then you get into the threshold of it. And then the heat system is really vibrating, you're shaking, shivering. But there are people who can go and cold-bloodedly kill people without any shaking or shivering. There are people. But normal people like us, it is even a thought about such an action can really shake you like that. So as soon as the conflict is coming, to identify the cause of conflict, which everybody knows, I want to have something which I cannot have because there is a limit or there is an idea that this is wrong. So I cannot take it. And so what to do? Conflict is there. If it is allowed to grow, certainly this fire will burn your house. So that fire you understand, and the cause of the conflict also you understand. Put the cause of conflict into the fire of conflict and get rid of it. This is a very big thing. This is living with awareness. Sharp awareness, keep it up, then without forgetting what you are doing, you are intently and intensely watching and then sacrifice in the holy fire of conflict. This is what is meant by tapas. Constant vigilance. And then comes swadhyaya. Swadhyaya is self-study. Unless we study ourselves, we will not be able to know what we are doing, who we are. We think we know everything, but we may be not able to know also. Not able, we are having the possibility to know, but we are not using the possibility. And so, when there is something is going on in the mind, which you cannot understand, there is a big worry which is going on. Maybe it could be connected with something which has happened in the past, but the worry is growing. You don't know how to stop it, how to go ahead with it. And then you read, you try to understand, you Google, and you get some information, but it's not working. And then you go and meet somebody, and to listen to somebody, this is going on in me, because I don't know what to do about it. It's not living. And so with his experience, he is an authority, because we consider him as an authority. So we go to him and discuss the matter with him, and he says certain things, we listen. And if you feel this idea which is proposed by that particular person is very suiting to you, by simply hearing that is not going to work in your life, so you need to practice it. That is called nididhyasana. Nididhyasana means practice. So there are three aspects in Swadhyaya, which is Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasana. These are the three aspects of Swadhyaya. Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasana. So it's a something you don't know what to do. You have to go and see somebody and ask them. And so he will say. When he says, you need to stop your mind and listen. And usually what we do, he go on saying and we go on analyzing at the same time. Thereby we miss many of the content which he says. Because we are on a different process. Simultaneously listening and simultaneously analyzing. And then many of the aspects we may miss. So when you are listening, you get the whole thing like a sponge absorbing water. Get everything, and then you have the content. Now you can go and learn. Usually we are not doing it like this. Go on listening, analyzing at the same time, thereby we may miss many of the things which he says, or she says. So analyzing is the second part. You need to really analyze based on your experience. And if it says, your conscience says that this is good, and then by deciding that it is good is not going to work, you need to practice that. You have to put it into practice. So that is called nididhyasana. Shravanam, mananam, nididhyam. Hearing and listening. Shravanam has two things, hearing and listening. Just hearing and focusing your attention completely on what the other one, the authority says. Gather as much information as possible, then analyze it, and then make your own decision. And then you start to apply little by little. This is Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasana. Together called Swadhyaya. That is how the self-study is done. Otherwise, there are many things which we may not be able to know. I have a lot of pain. I don't know what to do. Many people are saying this. So you have to see somebody. People say, go to psychologist. Okay, go to psychologist. Then he says something. You analyze what he says, and if it goes with you only, you can go. Otherwise, nothing works. And then finally, Ishvara Pranidhana. Ishvara Pranidhana is surrender to God. Now, God, here is the idea of God Patanjali is saying. I told you the theory before, the philosophy before yoga is Sankhya. In Sankhya there is no God. Ultimate consciousness and nature. There is no God. But when it comes to yoga philosophy, it also don't mention about God elsewhere, except in few stanzas. Like in Swadhyaya, like Ishvara Pranidhana. Ishvara is and then he defines Ishvara. Ishvara is an all-knowing consciousness. Ishvara is not an either. It's a special consciousness. He used the word special consciousness. Vishesha Purusha Ishvara. Ishvara is a special consciousness, unconditioned by time, space, and cause and effect. It's a beautiful, definition of God. There is no idea of belief or anything. Ishvara. Ishvara is a special Purusha, a special consciousness, unconditioned by time, space, cause, and effect. Because God is not limited into time as a particular area or particular time, or it has no cause-effect relationship. It's beyond. This is Ishvara. So that is an ultimate consciousness, which is a special consciousness. When you feel that I cannot manage, I don't understand many things which is going on before me or in me. So what to do? I surrender to the special consciousness, which is an all-knowing consciousness, because that special consciousness is at the root of creation, at the root of existence, at the root of annihilation. And so I surrender and I wait for it to dictate. So
consciousness
പാപ്പൊന്നുമില്ല, അതെല്ലാത്തിനും നടക്കും, നമ്മുടെ നടക്കും. അത് എളുപ്പം മനസ്സിലാക്കണമെങ്കിൽ ഇങ്ങനെ കണ്ടാൽ മനസ്സിലാവും. ഈ ഗാഢത പറയുന്നത് നമ്മളാണെന്ന് മനസ്സിലാക്കണമെങ്കിൽ ഒരു ചെറിയ വഴിയുണ്ട്. സിമ്പിളാണ് അത്. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ we ask a question, what was there before the beginning? But answer വരും, പക്ഷെ മൈൻഡ് ഒരു ആൻസർ തരും. എന്താണ്? വാട്ട് വാസ് ദർ ബിഫോർ ദ ബിഗിനിങ്? നത്തിങ്. കാരണം ആൻസർ എന്താ പറയാം? There is nothing. So the nothing was there before the beginning. There was nothing before. But how come something came from the nothingness? We don't see anything coming out of nothing. So our mind says that maybe something, there is a knowledge at least behind that, to create, how to create. So there must be a knowledge behind, or an intelligence behind that. And that intelligence was there alone, and then things started to manifest, atoms, subatomic particles, atoms, molecules, then compounds, and then slowly life forms and materials and everything. What happened to the emptiness? You look into an atom, and then you see it is a movement, some kind of particle movement there. And where the movement is happening? In the empty space. There is some vibrations are happening in emptiness. So our body is made up of this kind of particular movement. And what is there behind it? It is that emptiness, that base, that intelligence, which is all through our body, everywhere in me, in this, in all of you, and it extends everywhere, and it extends beyond time, space, cause, effect. It is everywhere. And so it is not something special which is there everywhere, which is the root, which is working in us when we are in that body form. And the body finishes, it disintegrates, but it will be here. We are not dying in that way. That space is released, that's all. The body goes into its original form, like atoms, and the background is still there. So this background is the special condition. And it is me, it is you, we are not different, we are the same. If you think in that way, you can very easily understand this. But usually it is not like that. Our mind makes some fragments, and the mind wants to create something and start to believe that this is God, this is different. Here there is only that supreme intelligence and nothing else. മതിയല്ലോ അത് മതി, നമ്മൾ തന്നെയാണ് ആൾ. അതുകൊണ്ടല്ലേ ഏത് പൂജ ചെയ്താലും ആദ്യം ദേഹപൂജ ചെയ്തിട്ടല്ലേ ചെയ്യുന്നത്. ആദ്യം ബോഡി പ്യൂരിഫിക്കേഷനാണ്. അത് ഈ ഒരു ഐഡിയ. സറണ്ടർ ടു. അപ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് അറിയത്തില്ല വാട്ട് ടു ഡു. അൾട്ടിമേറ്റ്ലി ചിലപ്പോൾ ശരിയാകാൻ, ചിലപ്പോൾ തെറ്റായിരിക്കും. അപ്പോൾ ആ കൺഫ്യൂഷനിൽ നിൽക്കുമ്പോൾ when we are in that confusion, what we can do is just rely upon some source. It may guide us, it may not guide us, but we get peace of mind. I don't know anything, so I pray before you and let it happen the way it should happen. എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് അപ്പോൾ അത് it may not happen, it may happen, but anyway you feel I surrendered, so I am free. You get a sense of calmness within you. That's the idea of prayer. Pranidhanam is surrender. Prayer comes from surrender. അതൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞില്ല. അറ്റ കൈക്ക് അത് ചെയ്തേക്കാൻ അവസാനത്തെ പരിപാടി. അയ്യോ എന്നൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞിട്ട്. പക്ഷെ അത് നമുക്ക് അവസാനം വരെ നമ്മൾ സറണ്ടർ ചെയ്യുമല്ലോ. പട്ടാളക്കാരത്തന്നെ ആലോചിച്ചോളൂ, നമ്മളെ വിടില്ല. അവസാനം നമ്മൾ തോറ്റ് നമ്മൾ കൊല്ലുമെന്നാകുമ്പോൾ മാത്രമാണ് ഈ തോക്ക് കാത്തിരിക്കുന്നത്. നാളെ വെച്ച് കൈ പൊക്കുമ്പോൾ എടുത്തോണ്ട് പോയിട്ട് ഭക്ഷണം കൊണ്ട് എവിടെയെങ്കിലും കൂട്ടി കൊണ്ടുപോകും. അതല്ല, തോക്ക് നാളെ വെച്ചിട്ട് ഞാൻ ഉപയോഗിച്ച് അപ്പോഴേ കൊല്ലും. സറണ്ടർ അങ്ങനെ ഇല്ല. അപ്പോൾ ഇതാണ് ഇതിൻ്റെ ബേസിക് ആസ്പെക്ട്സ്. നിധിധ്യാസനം, പ്രാക്ടീസ്. അത് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് പ്രാക്ടീസ് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് നമ്മൾ മനനം ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ we get some conclusions. This is right, this is wrong. And if you find something which is good for you in your analysis and synthesis, certainly you need to follow it up. You need to work out in your life, otherwise it will remain as a mental stuff. It will not come in our life. അതാണ് നമുക്കെല്ലാം അറിയാം, അതല്ലേ നമുക്ക് എല്ലാം അറിയാം, പക്ഷെ നമ്മൾ സഫർ ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുക. ഈ പ്രാക്ടീസ് ലഭിക്കും. ലൈഫിൽ പ്രാക്ടീസ്. അപ്പോൾ ഇതാണ് അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ സ്കീം. There are many other schemes, but this is a very scientific scheme we propose. So these are the, we take a small break.
So study about self-study.
Self-study, നമ്മൾ സെൽഫിനെ കുറിച്ച് നമ്മൾ പഠിക്കുക. എന്താണ് നമ്മൾ ട്രൂ സെൽഫ്, എന്താണ് സൂപ്പർ ഇമ്പോസ്ഡ് സെൽഫ് എന്നൊക്കെ നമുക്ക് മനസ്സിലാക്കാം. നമ്മൾ തന്നെ സൂപ്പർ ഇമ്പോസ് ചെയ്ത് ഉണ്ടാക്കി വെക്കുന്ന ഒരു വ്യക്തി നമ്മളിലുണ്ടല്ലോ. സെൽഫിനെ കുറിച്ചുള്ള സ്റ്റഡിയിൽ ആ വ്യക്തിയെ കാണുമോ? ഇത് പഠിച്ചില്ലെങ്കിൽ ആ വ്യക്തിയെ കാണാം. നമ്മൾ ഈ ഈശ്വരനാണ് നമ്മളിപ്പോൾ കൺക്ലൂഡ് ചെയ്തു. നമ്മൾ ഈ അൾട്ടിമേറ്റ് ഈശ്വരനാണ്. പക്ഷെ ഈ ഈശ്വരനല്ല നമ്മളെ ഡ്രൈവ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. നമ്മളെ ഡ്രൈവ് ചെയ്യുന്ന ഈശ്വരൻ എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ നമ്മൾ ക്രിയേറ്റ് ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്ന ഒരു പേഴ്സണാലിറ്റിയാണ്. നമ്മൾ തന്നെ നമ്മളെക്കുറിച്ചൊരു ഐഡിയ ഉണ്ടാക്കി ആ ആളിനെ തന്നെ നമ്മൾ വെളിയിൽ കാണിക്കുന്നു. എന്താ കടയിൽ പോയിട്ട് എല്ലാവരും ഒരേ വേഷം വാങ്ങിച്ചോണ്ടാണല്ല. ഇല്ല, എല്ലാവരും കടയിൽ പോയിട്ട് ഏറ്റവും നല്ലതെന്ന് വാങ്ങിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് വീട്ടിൽ പോകാൻ അവസാനം ഇതിൽ ഇട്ടുകൊണ്ട് വെളി ഇറങ്ങുമ്പോൾ എല്ലാം വ്യത്യസ്തമാണ്. ഇങ്ങനെ പറ്റുന്നില്ലല്ലോ. എല്ലാവരും മനോഹരമായിട്ടുള്ള സാധനമായിട്ട് രാവിലെ പിള്ളസാമി പറയായിരുന്നു, രാവിലെ കടലിൽ നിന്ന് മീൻ പിടിച്ചിട്ടൊരു സ്ഥിതി വന്നിട്ട് റോഡിൽ വെച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുക. ആരും ഒന്ന് എപ്പോൾ പോകുന്നൊന്നും അറിയില്ല. അവിടെ ഒരു സ്ഥലത്ത് വന്നിരിക്കുക അവർ. അപ്പം അങ്ങനെ പോകുന്ന കാലം നിർത്തിയിട്ട് നേരെ ചെയ്യാൻ ഞാൻ വന്നിട്ട് അതിനകത്ത് ഒരു കൂടം മത്സ്യങ്ങളുണ്ട്. അതായത് ആദ്യം കിടക്കുന്ന നല്ല മത്സ്യങ്ങൾ തന്നെ പിടിച്ചോണ്ട് വന്നതേ ഉള്ളൂ, ഫ്രഷ് ക്യാച്ചാണ്. പക്ഷേ ഇതിനകത്ത് നോക്കണം നല്ലത്. ഇതിനകത്ത് നല്ലത് നോക്കി നല്ലത് എട്ടെണ്ണം എടുക്കും. സഞ്ചി കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് പൈസ കൊടുക്കുമ്പോൾ കുറച്ച് നേരം കഴിയുമ്പോൾ അടുത്ത ഒരുത്തം വരിക. അവൻ മണ്ണിൽ നിർത്തി അതിലുള്ള നല്ലത് എടുക്കും. അങ്ങനെ എടുത്തെടുത്ത് വൈകുന്നേരം ആയപ്പോൾ ഒരു 5-6 അവിടെ കിടപ്പുണ്ട്. അതിലുള്ള നല്ലത് വേറെ എടുത്താൽ എടുക്കുക. വൈകുന്നേരം ആയപ്പോൾ ഒന്നും അതിനകത്തില്ല, എല്ലാം നല്ലതാണ്. എന്നുള്ളത് ഇങ്ങനെയാണ് നമ്മൾ ചോയ്സ്. നമുക്ക് ചിലതാണ് ഇഷ്ടം. ആ ചിലത് നമുക്ക് ഇഷ്ടപ്പെടാനുള്ള കാരണങ്ങൾ വേറെ ഉണ്ട്. നമുക്ക് വേറെ ഒരുപാട് കാരണങ്ങളുണ്ട് എന്തുകൊണ്ടാണ് ഈ ഇഷ്ടം നടക്കുന്നത്. ഇത് നമ്മൾ കൾച്ചറൽ കണ്ടന്റാണ്. നമ്മളെ സമൂഹത്തിൽ ജീവിച്ചതും നമ്മളെ പഠിപ്പിച്ചതും നമ്മൾ അറിഞ്ഞത് അന്വേഷണം നമ്മൾ മനസ്സിലാക്കിയതുമായ കാര്യങ്ങൾ ആകെ ഒരു കണ്ടന്റിനെ നമ്മുടെ ബീയിങ്ങിൽ ചേർത്ത് വെച്ചിരിക്കുകയാണ്. നമ്മൾ അതായിട്ടിരിക്കുക. ഇതാണ് ഐഡൻറ്റിഫൈഡ് സെൽഫ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. ഈ ഐഡൻറ്റിഫൈഡ് സെൽഫാണ് നോക്കുമ്പോൾ അവൻ്റെ കണ്ണിൽ വൃത്തിയായിട്ട് അവൻ ആ ഐഡൻറ്റിഫൈഡ് സെൽഫിന് ഇഷ്ടമുള്ളത് കാണും, അതെടുക്കും. അതിനപ്പുറമാണ് ഈ സെൽഫ് നിൽക്കുന്നത്. അപ്പോൾ ഇത് നോക്കിയില്ലെങ്കിൽ ഇത് കാണത്തില്ല. പിന്നെ നമ്മൾ വാല് പഠിക്കാൻ കൊള്ളാം. മറ്റേ സെൽഫ് മറ്റേതാണ്, ബ്രഹ്മമാണ്, ഈ ബ്രഹ്മമാണ് ഉണ്ടായിരിക്കും. ഞാനും ബ്രഹ്മം തന്നെ, അതുകൊണ്ട് നമ്മൾ രണ്ടും ബ്രഹ്മങ്ങൾ അടിപിടിയൊന്നും വേണ്ട എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ് കുറച്ച് നേരം സംസാരിക്കുമ്പോൾ അടിപിടിയായി. ഇങ്ങനെ അത് പോകണം. അപ്പോൾ അതുകൊണ്ട് ആ എക്സ്പ്ലോറേഷൻ നമ്മൾ നടത്തേണ്ടത് ആവശ്യമാണ്. അതല്ലെങ്കിൽ ക്ലാരിറ്റി കിട്ടത്തില്ല. ക്ലാരിറ്റി ഇല്ലെങ്കിൽ പലതായി പോകാൻ പറ്റില്ല എന്നുള്ളത് കൊണ്ടാണ് പലതിൽ ഈ ബേസെല്ലാം ആദ്യം പറഞ്ഞത്. എന്നിട്ടാണ് പിന്നെ പ്രാക്ടീസിലോട്ട് പോകുന്നത്. എന്നുവെച്ചാൽ ബേസ് ഉറച്ചില്ലെങ്കിൽ പിന്നെ നമ്മൾ അങ്ങോട്ട് പോയാൽ വഴി കെട്ടണം വീഴാനുള്ള സാധ്യത കൂടുതൽ. അപ്പോൾ അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് അദ്ദേഹം ഈ കാര്യങ്ങൾ ഒരു 5 മിനിറ്റ് പറയിട്ടുണ്ട്. അതിനെക്കുറിച്ച് പ്രാക്ടീസ് ചെയ്യും. അതായത് അല്ലേ എന്തായാലും പറഞ്ഞില്ല.